Hi guys, give me a second. Guys, just give me a second, okay? I'm running a little bit late. Guys, I'm having some issues, so just be patient with me. What? Guys, just hold on. I am helping a friend, so be nice. I can't have that going. Because that's copyrighted. Guys, I'm helping a friend trying to get in. I apologize for the quiet while I figure this out. Okay, guys. Okay. Hey, Nature Peeps. Welcome. Sorry I'm a little bit late for getting started, but something is going on. I don't understand it because people have issues getting into chat. I need to figure out what's going on with that. But welcome to today's live. It is a Friday. First, a bit about some channel goals. My goals for the channel are as follows. 400 subscribers by December / January, 500 by March. What are your ideas for membership perks and levels that we can put to those perks? Leave them in the comment section, please. Now, let's get into the meat of today's live. Oh, just a reminder, make sure you tell me where you're from, what time it is where you're from, or what time it is currently, and give this live a thumbs up because that helps other people find me. So let's start off, first off, with the turkey. We think that the first Thanksgiving turkey might have included, or we think the first Thanksgiving might have included turkey as a part of the feast. In 1857 is when the turkey really took off for the Thanksgiving feast, but that doesn't mean that people were not feasting on it prior to that. So when did we start stuffing the bird? I don't know the best way to do this. The first turkeys at the 1621 feast were stuffed with a mix of onions, herbs of some sort, and nuts. And we don't know the exact nuts, we just know nuts. I did find a recipe for a chestnut stuffing that predated the 1832 date, and it was published in 1772. And we have been stuffing things for a very long time, and it may even date back to the 1st century AD. Who says maybe it even dates further back than that? So the first commercial stuffing was stovetop stuffing, and it was first introduced in 1971, which happens to be a golden year because that's the year that something really special happened. Sweet potatoes. So without getting into a long, drawn-out history of the sweet potato, going to do a condensed history of the typical Thanksgiving side dish. So the sweet potato was first grown in America, or what would become America, as early as 1648, and that was in Virginia. It reached New England much later, though, as late as 1764. And for those of you who like marshmallows on your sweet potatoes, that didn't come about till a little bit later in our love for the food. And I don't have a fixed date for that event, but it appears to be sometime in the early 1900s. So it would seem that the sweet potato, um, the potato, on the other hand, predates the sweet potato at the feast. So they may have had a thing in the 1600s till around the 1771. We know that the potato was here sometime in the 1600s, but it didn't take off until around 1721. And the first recipe for mashed potatoes was printed in a cookbook in 1747. Gravy. The first recipe for gravy was printed in a book in the 14th century. And we don't know what type of gravy that was, but broccoli, for those of you that have broccoli at your Thanksgiving meal, it was first grown by Thomas Jefferson in 1757, but it didn't become popular until much later, sometime around the 1920s. Now, let's talk about corn for a minute, because everybody grows corn. So, corn, like we talked about in Tuesday's live, would have been very different from what we have today. They would have had flint corn, which, to my understanding, is more like field corn. It would have been hard. They would have ground it into flour, or not into flour, but into cornmeal, and then made that into a porridge. Corn, as we know it today, was probably a mutation of the field corn or the flint corn in the mid 1700s, but it was not grown until around 1779. Green beans. Now, I'm not sure when green beans were first grown in North America, but we know that the Native Americans raised beans along with their corn and squash. Stringless beans did not become a thing until around 1894. Green bean casserole, on the other hand, was invented at the Campbell Soup Company by a person named Dorcas, Dorcas Riley. And cranberry sauce was first used by Native Americans. It was mentioned. A mention of cranberry sauce was found in 1672, but that sauce was served with meat, and it was not sweet like ours is today. The first commercial growing of cranberries occurred in 1816 in Massachusetts. The first cranberry sauce recipe came out in 1769. The first canned cranberry was put out in 1912, but didn't go nationwide until 1941. For whatever reason, we don't know. Brussels sprouts. For those of you that eat Brussels sprouts, they were first developed in Brussels, Belgium, around the 1300s, introduced into the United States by the 18th century, but not commercially grown until the 1940s. Dinner rolls were first invented in the 1870s. I'm not saying that there wasn't bread served prior to this. We know that that's not the case. We know that the first Thanksgiving had some kind of cornbread and even sourdough bread. The first pumpkin pie was unlike anything you would recognize as pumpkin pie, but it would have been baked inside the pumpkin itself. You would have added milk, spices, honey into the pumpkin, put the pumpkin into the fire, and roasted it amongst the coals. They may have also added maple syrup or maple sugar to that, possibly. A recipe for pumpkin pie was put into a cookbook in 1796. And if you can look up those early recipes. Macaroni and cheese. The first recipe appeared in a 1769 cookbook. It was also cooked by Thomas Jefferson in 1802, and it first became a big Thanksgiving food in 1883. The first commercial mac and cheese came out in 1937. Now, apple pie, because you can't get any more American than apple pie. It was first done in 1796, created in 1801, and presented to Thomas Jefferson. Ham. Okay, so ham may have arrived in America in the early 1600s, might have joined the Thanksgiving feast a little bit later, sometime around the 19th century, perhaps. Cornbread dates back to the first Thanksgiving. Biscuits were introduced into Great Britain in 1588 and eventually made their way to the Thanksgiving dinner. So, what did you all eat for Thanksgiving dinner? Really need to figure out why I'm having issues with people coming into chat. Okay, anyway, I am still trying to figure this out. It should not be giving you issues if you're joining via a computer. I will try and talk to somebody about that. I will have to do that with another YouTuber, unfortunately, because um obviously I don't have the number of people to talk to somebody otherwise. So I have to figure that out. You can hear me okay? I'm assuming because it's off mute. Um, I will figure it out because I want people coming into my lives, and yeah, I don't know why it's messing up. So Thanksgiving has definitely evolved from that first Thanksgiving. When you think about just the cranberry, um, considering that they would have had venison and a lot of seafood, um, yeah, I am sorry to whoever else is on. I don't know if it's showing two people. As of right now, for whatever reason, it's giving people that have computers a headache. So if you want to listen, get on your phone and do it and log in using that. Um, I don't know what else to tell you. I somewhere have written down next Tuesday at noon, we are doing um how not to be stupid um at Yellowstone Park. If you are new to this and you can hear me, um and you want to participate in chat, you need to get on your phone, come back into the live, and then click on switch to open an app, and then you'll be golden. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but it's messing up. So I will have to find that out. Well, I had 3 people. Really, really need to find out what's going on. Anyway, I will do that after the live. Um, any questions? Questions, comments? If you're new to this, I do this Mondays. I go live Tuesdays, every Tuesday at noon Central Standard Time, and then again on Friday at 6. And I try my best to be here at 6 o'clock on the dot. Today, however, I thought I had the live scheduled and it wasn't there. So I had to schedule it. So that's why I was late coming in. Um, and I apologize for that. You can always go back and watch the lives. They are in the live section within the within my page on YouTube. So I'm hoping that I can solve this issue. Um, that way more people can attend because it really stinks that I'm having this issue. And I don't know what is going on with it. But I will get that figured out. So for those of you who didn't make it to Tuesday's live, another big difference between our Thanksgiving and their Thanksgiving is that they also had lots of shellfish. And I know people will make oyster stuffing, but there's a pretty good chance that they actually ate oysters. Now, it wasn't the pilgrims who would have brought the oysters. That would have been hopefully I pronounced this right, the wampum. I have to do it by looking at it. The Wampanoag Indians or Native Americans. They would have brought it. Also, bear in mind that there is a thing among us that says that the Native Americans were invited to the feast. Not the way it happened. The Wampanoag showed up and then were supposedly invited to eat, but the feast was sort of already started and then got added to. They would have had fish back then. The corn, like I mentioned, was very different. Very, very different. If you are new to the channel and you want to participate in chat, you have to go in on your phone and then click open an app if you have a cell phone, and then you can participate in chat. But for some reason, on computers, it doesn't seem to be working. I have to figure that out. I don't know why, but I will eventually figure that out. Vegetables, probably not a whole lot different from what we have now. To be honest. But if you have questions about the feast or something that I did not cover that you want looked up, that you want to know the history of, put that into the comments section and I will get it to you. Another thing that would have been different is we have potatoes. The pilgrims did not have potatoes. Again, they probably did, though, have ground nuts. And ground nuts is a tuber that grows from a vine. And very often they grow in chains. So they'll have a tuber and then sort of like a string of a runner that runs between the tubers. And this is a native plant that the Wampanoag would have brought to the feast. Or they might have had another native tuber called Indian turnip. Not quite sure what that is, that they might have had. The pilgrims really owed their survival to the Wampanoag. Big time. Again, that first Thanksgiving, they had lost a bunch of women the previous winter amongst the pilgrims. And so, yeah, just really sad. But, yeah, I was surprised at how different the Thanksgivings were, but I guess that makes sense. We also know that they probably had goose. Now, I don't know how many people at Thanksgiving time have goose, but back then they probably did. They probably also had swan. And they probably did have turkey, but it wasn't the end all of the feast. Whereas the cornerstone of our feast tends to be the turkey. They would have had venison, not only meat from the deer, but they also would have had turkey, or they would have had a venison stew of some sort. So yeah, and they also had fruit. Lots of, well, I don't know lots, but they would have had fruit. I don't. We tend to have tons of pies and maybe cakes. In my family, we tend to do German style green beans, as well as we started a new tradition this year, which is um, baked beans. So a little bit different. A little bit different. Pierogies. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. So, um, pierogies, according to Britannica, were brought into Poland by Saint Hyacinth, who died in Krakow in 1257. He brought this dish with him from Kiev. The word pierogi, along with recipes for it, first appeared in print in the 17th century, but they had known the food for centuries prior to that. So that is a little bit about pierogi. Normally, I do my research and I don't rely on just one website. So I don't know. I don't have an exact date for when olives arrived in the United States, but it would seem that the Spanish brought them over with them when they came um, early on to explore. So they were growing in California as early as the 1700s. And fun fact, a grove of olives was planted in Lima, Peru in the mid 16th century. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I have a message on Facebook. So, guys, I tell you what, I need to go have dinner. So, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for coming out. Try and get this hammered out by Tuesday, hopefully. And I will talk to you then. Enjoy. Bye, Eric.